This video is all about division of whole numbers. Remainders are an important factor in division. Remainders are the parts that are left over. In secondary school, when you're looking at whole number division, you have to be able to write the remainder as either a fraction or as a decimal. So we're going to look at both because you need to be able to do both. The easiest one to learn is actually writing the remainder as a fraction. So if we look at this question here, it says 63 divided by 4. The method that most students use is the bus stop method or the half box method. So the number that's being divided, 63, goes into a bus stop or a half box, and the number on this left hand side is the number that you're dividing by, so the divisor. What you can do if you're not 100% on your or confident with your 4 times table, you could actually write down the 4 times table facts to help you first of all. So we would be counting in 4s, so 4, 8, another 4 added onto that would be 12, another 4 would be 16, then we would have 20, 24, 28, another 4 would be 32, 36, and then 40. Okay, because I've written out my times table facts there, that just gives me a bit of breathing space so I can look at it if I'm suddenly struggling with my times table knowledge. Okay, if we go back to the division then, the first thing you look at is this digit here. The reason we take one digit at a time is that it means we can use smaller numbers, so therefore our times tables aren't as big. We don't look at the whole number of 63, we just look at this first number, and we would treat it as if it's a single digit, so 6. We've got 6 here, and we need to divide it into groups of 4. So if I show you here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we divided it into a group of 4, let's just check, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There is one group, which is why 1 goes written at the top there, but there are 2 left over, and those 2 get carried across to the next number, the next column. We then look at this second column. Okay, now because the 2 remainders came from a column which were 10 times bigger, that's why they actually become 23. So 23 is the whole number. We then look how many groups of 4 can we make out of 23. Well, rather than writing out 23 circles and then putting them into groups of 4, we can use our 4 times table. We need to see how many groups of 4 we can make out of it. So we look to see if 23 is an answer in the 4 times table. Well, 24 is an answer. But the thing with 24 is that's too many because actually we've only got 23. So we need to go back 1. So actually 20, we can get rid of 20 and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. So we can make 5 groups of 4. And because we got rid of 20, we would still have 21, 22, 23. So we would still have 3 left over. Now when you're in primary school, you would have written remainder 3. In secondary school, you need to learn how to write it as a fraction now because we can have whole numbers and fractions and they just become mixed fractions or mixed numbers, and it's allowed. So what happens is your remainder, which in this case is 3, becomes the numerator part of your fraction. If you draw your fraction line, the denominator is then the number you are dividing by, which in this case is 4. So actually our remainder is we've got 3 left out of the groups of 4 that we've been making, and we can just get rid of that R because we don't need it anymore. So actually we have 15 3/4. I'll do one more of those so that you can see it in practice again. Okay, this time we'll do 237 divided by 5, so divided into groups of 5. Okay, going to do the same as before. So in our bus stop or our half box, we put the number that's being divided, so 237. You can give yourself plenty of space for remainders that are carried across, so just stretch it out as much as you need to, and then the number we are dividing by, the divisor, goes on the left hand side. Okay, we're going to take this first one here. I might actually going to write out my times tables. Started in the wrong place. I'm going to start at the top actually. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay, you won't necessarily need to do that, but if it helps you feel more comfortable, more logical, then write out your times tables facts. Okay, and going back to this first digit, although it's actually worth 200, I'm going to treat it as if it's just 2. So how many 5s can I make out of a 2? Well, you can't. There aren't enough. You would need 5 to make just one group, so therefore I can't make any, so I'm going to put 0. And those 2 that I couldn't do anything with are going to pass across to the next column, so that now becomes 23. How many groups of 5 can I make out of 23? Well, if I have a look, 20 is the closest, so that will be 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 5. And the difference between 20 and 23 is 3, so 3 would get passed across. This next one would then become 37. So the closest I can get to 37 in the 5 times table without going over is 35. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. So I'm going to put 7 there. And then difference between 35 that I managed to put into groups and the 37 that I had is a difference of 2. So I've got remainder 2. Now, to write as a fraction, my remainder of 2 just becomes the numerator. I then draw my fraction line, and my denominator is the number I'm dividing by, which is 5. So 237 divided by 5 would actually be 47 and 2/5. Although you are able to write the remainder as a fraction for whole numbers, sometimes it may ask you to write the remainder in its decimal form. There's a slightly different method to this, but one you definitely need to know because you need this method for decimal division. So if I go back to the original sum, the first one we did was 63 divided by 4. Okay. Same principle as before. I'm going to write out my, I always started it wrong. I'm going to start at the top, sorry. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. Okay, I'm going to put the number I'm dividing into my half box, and then I am going to put my divisor on the left hand side there. I'm then just going to take one digit at a time. So I'm going to look at the 6 first of all. How many groups of 4 can I make out of 6? Well, I can make one group, which would get rid of 4. And the difference between 4 and 6 is 2, so the remainder I would pass across would be 2. I'm going to look at this second digit now. So 23 divided by 4, well, the closest I can get without going over is 20, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups, and I have 3 left over because I could only get rid of 20. Now I'm going to put that remainder there. Now really this is now going to be a decimal remainder because I've run out of whole numbers. So what I need to remember to do is, now that I've run out of my whole numbers, I'm going to put my decimal point in both my question and in my answer, and they go in exactly the same place. This 3 is waiting for the column to wake up, so I need to wake a column up. Previously there was nothing there, it was blank, and blank just means there's a 0 in there. This now becomes 30, so I'm going to come to this column. How many groups of 4 can I make out of 30? Well, I can definitely get rid of 28, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can make 7 groups, so I'm going to put 7 at the top there. I'm just going to extend my line here. 7 got rid of 28, that means I have 2 left over, so I need to create a new column, wake it up because I need it to get my decimal number, and I'm going to pass the 2 across that was left over. This one now becomes 20, so I can actually get rid of 20 completely, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. So actually 63 divided by 4 is 15.75. In our other answer, when it was written as a fraction, it was 15 3/4. 3/4 is 0.75 in a decimal form. We'll complete one last one to show you how to write in its decimal form. So I use the same sum as before. This time it was 237 divided by 5. Now I'm going to make sure I've got plenty of space, so I'm going to stretch it out so that I can comfortably see all the numbers without it being squashed up. I'm also going to write out my 5 times table just so that I know that if I'm panicking, it doesn't matter because I've taken the time over here to help myself. Okay, I'm going to take 1 digit at a time, so 2. How many groups of 5 can I make out of this 2 here? Well, I can't make any because I haven't got enough. So I'm going to put 0 and then carry the 2 that I couldn't do anything with across. Then going to look at this next number. This next number is 23. Well, the closest I can get without going over is 20. So I'm going to be able to get rid of 20 in 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. Okay, and the difference between 20 and 23 is 3, so that's why I'm going to pass 3 across. I'm going to look at this one now. This becomes 37. The closest I can get is 35, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. Okay, now I still have a remainder. I have 2 left over, so I'm going to just leave it hovering there. I know now that I've come to the end of my whole numbers because 7 was my units, so therefore now my decimal needs to be put in. I also need to wake the first decimal column up. Then I'm going to say this number is 20. How many groups can I make out of 20? Well, 20 is an answer in the 5 times table, so I can get rid of all of them, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So actually 237 divided by 5 is 47.4. And if you are comfortable with your fraction and decimal form knowledge, you'll know that the original answer we got before, which was 47 2/5, 2/5 is actually 0.4 in its decimal form.